أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, inshallah. We continue. Before the break, we went through the ahadith dealing with the permissibility of wiping over the khuffayn. This is something mutawatir. This is something that Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah has agreed upon. We went through the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned the condition that the Muslim should have put on this khuffayn in a state of tahara. Then it would be permissible for you to wipe over it the next time. We went through the manner and method of wiping, that you wipe on the upper portion of the khuffayn, the majority portion, the major portion of the khuffayn, and that would suffice. You do not have to wash every single inch of the khuffayn. As for the under portion of the khuffayn, not permissible for us to wipe over it. As Ali radiallahu anhu said, if the deen was based upon aql solely, then we would say wipe on the under portion. But I had seen the Prophet ﷺ wiping on the upper portion of the khuffayn. We went through hadith number 56 and 57 dealing with the time period of the khuffayn, the concession time. Then according to majority of the scholars, there is a specific concession time. It is 3 days and 3 nights for the musafir, 1 day and 1 night for the muqim, the resident. We went through the matter of when the time period expires. Is my wudu broken or not? We went through 3 opinions. The first, majority of the scholars, that your wudu is broken and nullified. Number 2, the Maliki scholars, you just require washing your feet again. And number 3, the scholars who stated that your wudu is fine. We do not have proof that this is something which breaks the wudu. And the same opinions they had with if a person removes his khuffayn after he had wiped over it. The 3 opinions, again, we stated that the safest opinion is the opinion of majority of the scholars, that the Muslim takes a fresh new wudu. I will begin with hadith number 58. وعن ثوبان رضي الله تعالى عنه قال بعث رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم سرية فأمرهم أن يمسحوا على العصائب يعني العمائم والتساخين يعني الخفاف رواه أحمد وأبو داود وصححه الحاكم. This hadith that the Prophet ﷺ, he sent a group of the Sahaba on a military expedition on a Sariyah. So they went out and the Prophet ﷺ allowed them, gave them the concession for them to wipe over the turban. We've dealt with this issue last week that the Prophet ﷺ had wiped over his turban. We said we make qiyas, analogy, the female with her scarf or her head covering, it will also be permissible for her to wipe over that, as Salama radiallahu ta'ala anha would also do. The same conditions apply, that she or himself with regards to the turban should have put it on in a state of tahara. If there is difficulty involved, then they are allowed to wipe over it, inshaAllah. وامسحوا على العصائب يعني العمائم والتساخين يعني الخفاف. They were allowed to wipe over the khuffayn, wipe over this. This was permissible as we saw in the previous ahadith. Something that we have not yet discussed is the issue and manner and method of wiping over bandages. A Muslim might have a cut on his arm, on his hand, on his wrist, and he has a bandage or a plaster over it. What happens when it comes to the time of tahara? Is he allowed to wipe over it? Then the answer is yes. But there are certain differences between the bandage and your khuffayn in that when it comes to your bandage, there is no condition of tahara. We do not tell the Muslim who breaks his hand that you need to go and take a wudu now and then we take you to the hospital and then they will put on the bandage. La, this is difficulty. So he puts on the bandage. There is no condition that you need to put it on in the state of tahara. That's the first difference between bandages and khuffayn, your socks and your turban. Number 2, there is no specific time period. You wear the bandage for 10 weeks, no problem. You wear it for a month, no problem. You continue wiping over it for as long as you require. Number 3, you wipe over the bandage for your hadath al-akbar and your hadath al-asghar, for your wudu and your ghusl, because there's nothing else that this person can do. as opposed to your turban, as opposed to the khuffain. You are only allowed to wipe over it when it comes to your wudu and not for your janaba, not for your ghusl. Bandages, you are allowed to wipe over it even for your ghusl. And number 4, with regards to the khuffain, you wipe on the upper portion of the khuffain, but not with your bandages. With your bandage, you have to wipe over the entire bandage. If you have a bandage over the finger, you don't only wipe on the upper portion, but around the entire bandage. So those are 4 differences between the bandage and the khuffain. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah and Shaykh al-Albani, we've already discussed that there is a time period of 3 days and 3 nights for the musafir and 1 day and 1 night for the muqim. But if there are exceptional circumstances, then Ibn Taymiyyah and Shaykh al-Albani even allowed going over this time period of 3 days, 3 nights or 24 hours. We will give the qissa or the story behind the incident with regards to those matters when we come to the last hadith, inshallah. Point being that at exceptional times, they come and opens up room for exceptional rules. Hadith number 59. وعن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنه موقوفا وأنس مرفوعا قال: إذا توضأ أحدكم ولبس خفيه فليمسح عليهما وليصلي فيهما ولا يخلعهما إلا من جنابة إن شاء إلا من جنابة أخرجه الدارقطني. This hadith, hadith number 55, giving us the same meaning as the previous ahadith that the Prophet ﷺ supposedly stated that when any one of you takes his wudu and he has his khuffain on and he had put it on in a state of tahara, فَلْيُصَلِّ فِيهِمَا, then he can pray in this khuffain. وَلَا يَخْلَعُهُمَا إِنْ شَاءَ, he should not take it out if he wishes, but he should wipe over it except for janaba. إِلَّا إِنْ شَاءَ, that if he wants to. Then wiping over the khuffain is not fard, it is not wajib. If the Muslim feels that he wants to wash his feet, then it would be permissible for him to remove his khuffain and wash his feet. It is not a matter of fard or luzum. He is not bound and that he has to do this. He can wash his feet and he can wipe over his khuffain, and wiping over the khuffain is the sunnah, inshallah. Hadith number 60. وعن أبي بكرة رضي الله تعالى عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه رخص للمسافر 3 أيام ولياليهن وللمقيم يوما وليلة. And the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم laid down the concession for the musafir 3 days, 3 nights, for the resident 1 day and 1 night. إذا تطهر فلبس خفيه, if he had put it on in the state of tahara. And yamsah alayhima, permissible for him to wipe over it. The same meaning as the previous ahadith. And the last hadith in this chapter, hadith number 61, وعن أبي بن عمارة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال: يا رسول الله أمسح على الخفين, am I allowed to wipe over the khuffain? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, نعم, yes. قال يوما, for 1 day? Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, yes. يومين, 2 days? Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, yes. قال وثلاثة أيام, for 3 days? Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, yes. وما شئت, and for as long as you want. Subhanallah, this hadith goes against the previous ahadith. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, for as long as you want. But is this hadith authentic? Then as Ibn Hajar radiallahu ta'ala an says, أخرجه أبو داود وقال ليس بقوي. Abu Dawud narrates this hadith and he said that it is not strong. And that's why majority of the scholars went with the opinion that this concession is bound by a time period based upon the authentic ahadith, 3 days, 3 nights for the musafir, 1 day, 1 night for the muqim. In closing, I did mention that in exceptional circumstances, there are exceptional rules. And this was the opinion of Imam Ibn Taymiyyah and Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he states that once he was on this caravan and they were out on this journey and his time period was over. He was a musafir, 3 days, 3 nights. He required taking a fresh wudu, he required wiping over, he required washing his feet. But he said that he was not in this position to get down from the caravan and take a proper wudu. And if he had to request that from the people of the caravan, it would mean delaying everybody in this journey. So he said that he remembered this hadith and he remembered the opinion of those scholars who were of the opinion that there is no fixed time period. And he said subhanallah, that the Sharia has yusr in it, there is ease in the Sharia, and he followed that opinion at that time due to the exceptional requirements. And also Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah, when he was asked by some of the mujahideen from Afghanistan, that we come across certain circumstances wherein 3 days and 3 nights are not enough for us. We require a higher and longer period. We are fighting in this jihad and we don't have the opportunity to get down and remove our khuffain and take a proper wudu. Would it be permissible for us to wipe over it for a longer period? And Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah also gave them the fatwa that in their circumstance it would be permissible for them to wipe over the khuffain or the jawrabain for a longer duration than 3 days and 3 nights. And with that, we have concluded the chapter Bab Mas'al al-Khuffain. We've covered so far in these 5 classes over 60 ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ. We went through the fiqh of these ahadith. Hopefully everybody has understood every single hadith. Whatever questions you have, please post them on the forum. Benefit myself and I will benefit you inshallah if possible. We've seen in this chapter that it is permissible to wipe over the khuffain. If your time period expires, your wudu is broken according to majority of the scholars. If you remove the khuffain during your concession period, your wudu is broken according to majority of the scholars. It is also permissible to wipe over jawrabain, over your socks, if they are of reasonable thickness, if it is not see-through and transparent, it would be permissible. Narrated from about 9 of the Sahaba, and Ibn Qudama stated consensus ijma' of the Sahaba on the matter of wiping over the jawrabain. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاك الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.